Okay, whenever this comes up, we will see. Fantastic. There's my link. Let me mute this to make sure we're good. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can fix this. How does that look at the bottom? That seems better. How does this look? Okay, all right. Let's see if I switch back to the scene, then back to the intro. Okay, we will see if I have everything working. Fantastic. Okay, so you should have my audio. I'm having to use the machine's mic. Just gonna leave it on the splash screen until it updates. Yep, okay, looks like we're getting there. Okay. Okay. All right, that looks about right. Okay. Let's see if Claude has this ready. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to mute for a second while I feed my dog. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back live. Yeah, I'm just kind of checking to make sure everything works, get a feel for the stream lag, and I'm gonna get some coffee. Looks like the box is working. That's good. Okay. So for people who are logging in, what I want to do, let me actually go to this page real quick. Let me put you on my splash screen for a second so I can make a couple of changes here. Okay, and then I missed one of them. And that is task tracker. Okay. Well, somebody's enjoying their meal. That's good. The links work? They do. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys where we are. We are getting into orange clearance, group resources. Okay, and do I have the page up somewhere else? Yes, I do. Good. Yeah, we're gonna look at this stuff in a minute. Very exciting. Hopefully the resolution is readable. How's it look when I go back here? Okay. All right, cool. Okay. Great. So okay. Great. So let me get a cup of coffee. Was that good? Better? All right. Now we've got some lunch in you. You want to sit for a little bit? Good girl. Good girl. All right, we're doing great. Okay, this is going to take me about, I don't know, 45 minutes, Esther. Keep it short. Okay, got some coffee. We're good to go. All right, yes, excellent, good. Okay, let's see here. How do I do this? So, yeah, I'm hoping, Shodan, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Let me make sure, am I live? I am live. I have my screen ready, fantastic. So, thanks everybody for coming on the snow day. I appreciate that. Yes, not too bad here. I think it's going to mostly be cleared up by tomorrow around my place. But did you guys mostly get ice? We mostly got ice. So I put enough salt out so I could walk Esther. That was basically my plan. Okay, cool. Always a good sign. We're getting some definite good stuff here. All right, I'll go ahead and start this. And what I think I'm going to do is for people who aren't here, let me get this a little bit bigger maybe. There we go. For people who aren't here, I will go over it later. We'll kind of consider this a bonus day. I appreciate people showing up. Maybe you can spread information out to your group. So I want to go over what the project engines are. This was a lot of chaos the first day, and we haven't talked about it since, but I've been talking to the graphic design people over in the gray department to get into this. All right, so yeah, we're just going to pretend everybody has yellow clearance so far. We'll get your orange done soon. It is fine. All right, so I want to go through who's in what group, what projects. We're going to look at your briefs. You're going to think about which one of those maybe you want to start looking at, and then how to talk to graphic design, and then how to get ready for your pitch, which is in about 4 weeks. We're going to say the end of February. That sounds good. A little bit later than usual, but that'll give us more time to really make a solid pitch presentation. Okay, so on the Canvas page, which we can see here, group resources. So I tried to make it pretty and it didn't quite work, but here we go. So you should have your groups listed and a link for the creative briefs for that project. Okay, so let's go through it slowly. I'll go through the nice looking one here over on Chrome. Okay, so group 0, finance, e-commerce. So the idea here is whatever your project's going to be, it would ultimately be useful for people who are trying to manage finances in a number of ways. A few of those are, there's one called, I think, Bag, which is for college students, which is to manage your financial bag, I guess, the types of things you'd be worried about. There's one for, let's say if you're doing house renovations, the type of things you'd keep track of there, like subcontractors, things like that. So the idea behind all of these is, what are you building? You're building a website, an application people can log into and do stuff. So no matter how complex the program is, all you care about right now is how are you going to set it up so you can make a login page and have users log in. And that's the amount of code I'd like to see working when you do your first presentation. The rest can be vaporware. Okay, so that's financial. Group 1, you're the recommendation engine, which could range from recommending books to video games, anime. Those are all things that past years did. The difference is they didn't have the power of AI. So I feel like with recommendations, we can use AI to help us kind of really expand that. Group 2, biometrics. Come back here. Group 2, biometrics. So this is health and wellness. So I know I was talking to Myra about tracking, blood pressure is a great example of a biometric. Obviously, with all this data, we have to be very careful that we're protecting the user's data. We don't leak it. We know what it is. They can have their data back if they want it. But obviously, for biometric stuff, that could be a big deal. Now, again, biometrics could be a lot of things. My favorite idea somebody decided not to make, I hope somebody makes someday, was a like a Fitbit, a fitness tracker for your pet. So it kind of show how much they walk, things like that. Another project in the past that worked on health and wellness was, it wasn't really biometrics, but it fits. It was a meal planner. So one of the people I worked with, he wanted to, I'm going to go to Sam's or BJ's, whatever. I'm going to load up. Do I have enough to make food, for me and my wife and my 3 kids? And I think he had a teenager in the house, so a lot of food. So they'd plan through and say, yeah, we've got everything for spaghetti, except we are short on ground beef, so you're going to need to get more. Another thing would just be maybe tracking somebody's health journey. There's a lot of options there. Group 3, task management, task tracker. I gave them short names for the spreadsheet, but the task management engine. So this could be anything where, maybe you're tracking, the kid's got to go to soccer and then I've got an appointment with a doctor at 5, or as a college student, I want to organize all of my classes. When do I have to go to class? When do I have things due? These are all different ways you could do task tracker. Group 4, you folks are entirely online. So we're still choosing your project, right? So the online people who are not in a regular group. So yes, Shodan is an exception because we're keeping her in group 0. But for people who were added this semester who are online that weren't in 285, the easiest thing is going to be, we're going to get you set up on how to build your login page, registration, talk about the basics of how do you build an application. And then we'll figure out what it actually does. So we have a little time on that. Okay, is it making any sense so far? Let's check the chat. Group, sorry if the announcement didn't go out. I tried to do an edited announcement. Let me just do that again to make sure real quick. Put this link and I'm going to just edit and resend it. Okay. And maybe this will get to everybody if I say, please send that again. Great. Okay. Good. Yep. So, the idea I wanted to, since there was no class, I wanted to have a class meeting and try to help you guys out, show you what was going on. I'm waiting for my stream to catch up with my talking. It's going to just confuse me, I think. Okay, so again, okay, good. Again, here, I've just posted this. You should now see in people, let's check if this works. When you go to people, now is it showing groups? Yeah, if you go to groups here, you should be able to see your group and you should be able to chat with people in your group. And we're going to have group assignments coming up, okay? Just so you see how that works. Let me close my email so I don't leak that. Go away, there we go, good. Okay, so this is just, again, kind of explaining what we're building. The really important thing here, because this is going to feel like you have a lot of things being dumped on you, right? The first thing you do, think about how we started with Datamon. You said, okay, I got to build a calculator, so I'm going to figure out, well, I'm going to start with just adding 2 numbers, right? So again, in this case, for each of these projects, we're going to see how far we get during the semester. I would say these projects, the complexity is pretty similar to what we've had people finish successfully. So, and that was before AI assistance. So we'll see how the AI helps us out. It can't do our thinking for us, but it can definitely help us write some extra code. And the idea here is, these are the types of things you're going to focus on. And I'm going to show you some of the briefs to kind of see how this works. Now, the briefs are really big, so I don't want to scare you too much. They are exhaustive, so you probably need just a little bit of the information in those briefs. And we'll kind of discuss it. Okay, so this is basically right. I'm going to post these in here. For now, yeah, we say what you're going to build and who you're building it for, and we'll look at some of those. All right, so there's a number of white label applications for each one. So you can always go with the algocratic program to start with, right? You're probably going to end up with more than one white label as you go. We're going to see how this goes. So, don't freak out yet. The idea is if you build something that can recommend books, and then someone says, hey, we have extra money. Would you like to make this recommend anime as well? You would definitely be able to spin off a different version of that did the same thing, but for anime instead of books, right? It's going to have different categories. Probably the database fields might be a little different. But you can do one of these. So you could pick the real world applications. So Ms. Fisher Gray over in GRD, she has created these and I worked with her, and then actually the algocratics as well. Now the design students have each picked one of these, right? So if you're in a group doing, say, task management, you're going to be with 3 or 4 graphic design people. They've each picked one of the white labels. So you'll already get a feeling when you talk to them next, which will hopefully be soon, about which ones are ready. Audio levels are good. You guys can hear me. I'm going to keep checking okay, cool. We're good. Let me go back to my stuff. Hopefully this is making some sense. Okay, so what that means is, as a group, what you probably should do is go to the link that is in that page and kind of start chatting about, okay, which of these look interesting to me. Okay, so here's how it breaks out. Task tracker, finance, recommended biometrics. The other thing we may do for online, if it turns out, we may have them pick one of the existing programs that's not being used by someone else and have them do that. You guys aren't going to have to invent the wheel. Don't worry, we'll get you figured out. Group 4 is not going to be hanging behind for long. So these were all examples of different projects that were made. You can see the algocratic versions have these great names. So the recommendation engine for algocratic is the preference optimizer, right? Task tracker for team flow. This one I'm really looking forward to because, let me come back here. This will hopefully be part of what I'm building with the Shodan project, where the AI can help you. If you're like, hey, I haven't turned in a pull request or I did something wrong, the AI could, helpfully just email you and give you some help, assistance. I figured that would be fun. But we'll talk about it later. But the idea, of course, for task tracker, maybe it's for your family, you're a student, you're like a working freelance person, renovator, things like that. For finance, we've got these. Some of these are a little off. I actually got to check these again. Yeah, I think these are actually it's made those up. So we're gonna pretend you didn't see that. Let's go with this. Cool. So we're in week 2. So we're gonna, if we meet on Wednesday, which I hope to do, we're going to discuss our platform. So we can put down our GitHub for a day. We can get out the Post-its and some scratch paper and write on the whiteboard and just think about what we're doing. Your group knows the engine. You've looked at some of the briefs and what's going on. Then we're going to build these things out. By week 8, graphic design will have all of your graphical assets. So the idea here is, if you're doing a presentation, you're going to have all your fonts, things like that. Some of these will be done a little bit earlier, so you have them for the pitch. But the idea is when you make an app, you're going to need to put in the CSS, the fonts, the icons, and they're going to give you those. And then our integration, where we look at doing the multiple themes. And again, we're just going to start with one first. This is a pretty good idea of what happens back and forth. So when you talk to the folks at graphic design, let me explain this. So they're approaching this as they've been told to make marketing materials and packaging and things like that for a product. So some of these products have like, I think some of the fitness ones, like it comes with a smartwatch, or I think one of them's like a mood ring that measures your heart rate and your mood. But the idea is there's some physical products involved with the software. Now, we're not going to actually make those physical products, okay? In the real world, what would happen is algocratic hardware division would make those with constraints from the graphic design people. But when you're building the program, you can pretend any information this thing is going to give you. So if your smartwatch it reads blood pressure, then we can have someplace in the database where we say blood pressure and read that, or things like that. But a lot of these, it's more like the physical items are just sort of fun little things to go with it. But definitely the brand assets, the logos and colors are going to really matter, because they're helping you figure out what your little subdivision of algocratic, what's their brand identity? Who are you selling to? What's the market? They're going to talk about user personas. They have a lot of information about that. So we often said that as Sandy is a 28-year-old mother of 2 small children. She is in community college. So she needs a program that can help her balance her work-life balance. She's got to handle everything from school, everything at home, and everything at the job. How would she do that? She's got a So, but the idea behind that, why do you talk about personas? Because whenever you want to pitch a product, you don't start with what it does, what it fixes. Nobody cares. You start with the problem. You get the viewer, the listener on your side talking about Sally or Jose or Bob, any of these personas and their problems. And once they've kind of linked into, oh yeah, I could understand why that person needs a program to help them find car insurance, or I can understand why that person needs a program to track their meal planning. Now people will listen to you when you say, here's the solution we offer for this problem. They're going to do market research, so they're out there checking for things like which magazines, which websites these people use, where you might want to put a social media ad, things like that, and style guides. That's all things that graphic design does that should help you understand what the product would be when it's real. What do? You actually have to make the thing. So you sort of say, well, look, we're using this library. This is what we can do. Is this close enough? Here's the features we have ready. Here's the ones we won't have yet. Because remember, we're using Scrum, so every 2 weeks we want to deliver a little bit of features. We'd love to deliver this login screen in 2 weeks. That would be great. We might even be ahead of schedule there. And then you deliver another feature and another feature. And so instead of building the whole application at once, you build it bit by bit. It's called vertical slices. The wireframes, which are sort of like, you don't have to make the whole UI, but you give a mock-up of what it might look like. And then, of course, your working themed demo. This is going to happen at the end of the semester. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of a demo so you can log in and show off like the splash screen for your application at the end of your week 6 pitch. But by week 15, 16, you're going to show a program that works. It actually does what it says it does. And that's going to be something you can put on your GitHub, show to employers. Here's a enterprise software development system we built using Scrum working with 3 to 6 other people. And I'm going to tell you, typically the 4-year schools don't give you that capacity to put that on your resume. They don't have time. But we're making time. Okay, so we're getting started. What's going to happen? You're thinking about, I need to know what my pitch is, and what I'm going to do in a minute actually. I will get you guys linked to your stuff so you can look at it. I'll just show you those links again so you know where to start. We're getting started. On Wednesday, we'll talk about these. Maybe we'll look through some briefs and we'll figure out, okay, what out of this makes sense to us? Where do we want to start? Then we'll do discovery, where we figure out the user stories. Again, what's the first one? As a user, I want to log in so I can use the product. And that's a post-it. We move it across the board. There's another one, depending on your personas, depending on what your product does. And then we have another sprint, and then we have the pitch. So in the pitch, you got about 10 minutes. So, when we do these pitches, we'll probably have 2 groups do it on Monday and 2 on Wednesday, so we don't run out of time. Because I know 10 minutes times 4 is going to equal more than 50 minutes, right? Because people have to plug their laptops in, all those things. You explain what the problem is. You introduce your persona, the problem that people have, then show your team, go to the solution. I got to edit some of this, right? What are we going to do? Well, if you don't know what anime to watch, we're here, Again, I'm giving random examples. You're going to pick one of the white labels, and that's the thing you're solving right now. Maybe a quick demo. You'll talk about the architecture you're using, and then have a few minutes for Q&A. You're going to find 10 minutes goes very fast when you're given a pitch like this, especially when everybody in the group needs to have a moment to talk. You're going to rotate through, and we'll practice this. I would like to make the practice actually graded so that we definitely practice it, but we're going to practice it. Okay, so again, here's the thing, what's the problem, the personas. We'll have a live demo. We'll show some of the thing, and then everybody needs to talk. I think that's it. Good, cool. So here's what you want to do. You want to make sure you know your options here, and we need to get Discord set up. So I think Shodan's going to help me with that. Let me check into chat, see if we have any questions. Excellent. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I was going to say, you got to have, this is there was a study. I'm going to talk for a second. There was a study about, not trying to relax where you study and study where you relax. So it was these dorms. The only thing that they could move, because it was like everything was fixed in place, was they had a light they put in the corner, and that was the study lamp. So what happened is if you were done, watching YouTube or whatever, you would, turn off your thing. You'd turn on the study lamp, go sit at the desk by the study lamp and study for 25 minutes. Then go take a 5-minute break and then repeat. Like literally just little things to anchor you to what you're doing. I'm doing that with Esther. I'm having the streams in one room where she eats. So there's a positive, she doesn't mind being in here is what I'm saying. If I was just sitting here talking on my computer and I was on the sofa, she would interrupt me every 5 minutes. Like, what are you doing? Let's go outside. So thinking about how you want to organize this stuff is kind of important. All right, let me get to the briefs here and do them in the order I wanted to do. So this is the top level. I've linked to these. This is just my repo that our my GRD resource has been working in. So these are the 4 ones. So let me start with the financial tracker first, kind of show you. So the AF Pay Comply. What you'd be interested in looking at for these would be the aligned base and aligned technical. Now the aligned base, there's a bunch in here that you probably don't care about because this is going to blow you away, right? There's a lot of stuff in here. So Pay Comply is a fiscal behavior modification system developed by algocratic.futures to support students seeking alignment between spending, earning, and regulatory expectations. Tracks financial obedience. So the fun thing about this one is once you sign up, you have to you can't just turn it off. You have to keep doing it. And there's some things in here that are classified. So kind of interesting, right? There's a lot here that's taken out. This might be a product that you're like, wow, the idea is, hey, if you don't know how to spend your money, the algorithm will show you. So that could be one way you want to go. Now, when I look at that same thing from the technical perspective, this is very different because it's basically the second part of the document. So this talks about the different pieces in the program, the engine, how you would make a transaction, some of the extra fields. I know this is a lot of stuff to look at once, right? This is definitely drinking from a fire hose. So maybe let me back out and do a simpler one. Okay, I'm going to hit the bag college finance. This is pretty good. The idea here is we market 18 to 22, and we're looking for people who are trying to manage financial aid. Money coming in, maybe you just got a little bit of money coming in, you're doing a part-time job, you're trying to get money, this and that, so you can go through school. And so the idea is those people have very specific financial needs. Like just giving them Quicken's not going to help. Here it says, so what do the Grays do? They create a complete brand identity for BAG, a college financial management program that helps university students track their financial picture. So including all the stuff, you need money coming in from parents, maybe work you've done, maybe you do some commissions on the side. And then it's based on semester budgeting. Since you're not planning around fiscal years like a company is, you're planning around, am I going to have enough money for the semester, right? And they go into what's the reality of this? I have this money, right? This is definitely a pain point that happens. You got your financial aid disbursement and you're like, where'd it go? We have the fictional founder of the company. We have our brand positioning. Here we go. Secure your bag, own your independence. So it's definitely targeting a certain audience. And it says here, make your aid last the semester, real-time reality checks, find out if you can afford it before you buy it. Guardrails without your parents micromanaging. As someone who had a credit card that the bill went to my parents, and then I bought a $40 super soaker, I feel like I could have used this. I could have used something that said, hey, maybe don't spend your emergency money on toys. But I was 18, so. All right, and it goes through and talks about what the product is, so you can kind of see, it comes with these different items like the card and all that. What you care about is the digital component, the mobile app, right? Now, when I say mobile app, that can just be a web app. We're going to talk about responsive apps, so you can make sure that the app you're making would look good on a phone, right? Real-time alerts. And then the user research is talking about some of these personas. Again, a lot of this stuff, your graphic design people are going to be the experts on this. They're going to do all the work on this part. But it's worth understanding what it says so you can figure out, what you want to do. Now, you're not doing any of these digital deliverables or multi-page layouts, right? That's their job. But it's good to understand what the product does. So now I'm going to go back now and look at the bag align technical. And this now gets into, well, how would you actually build this product? It tracks CRUD operations, that is create, remove, update. So every time you make a page where you can fill in a form, that's a CRUD operation. It's just putting data into the computer or getting it out. We track transactions. You've got things like, well, what semester did that money come in or go out? You may need to track multiple accounts because you got your financial aid disbursement, you got your personal account, you maybe have other things, and then the planning. So you can see how this is a very specific way of saying financial tracker. You got a parent portal where you can see some information that they can't change. We've got a lot of information for our database people, which again, we can get into later. This is just Claude's recommendation based on what we set up of what we thought was a pretty good way to start. But I don't think you could just throw this into the bot and have it write the whole program. It's too long. Okay, so hopefully that's making some sense. Yep, yeah, exactly. Cool, good. So I'm going to let that catch up real quick. And then I'm going to go to the next group, which is my recommendation engine. Okay. Again, I feel like doing the algocratic one, I'm going to let you guys look at those because they might, preference optimizer sounds pretty creepy. Let's look at Let's Eat. That sounds pretty good. Now, some of these actually, I need to update Pantry. That's a mistake, but that's okay. When I look at Let's Eat, that is the whole idea of what are we going to have where are we going for dinner? I don't know. You pick. You picked last time. Let's have pizza. I don't want pizza. How about chicken? Right? Nobody wants to do that. And maybe even if you're just eating by yourself, you'd like to rotate through things. Maybe eat a nice expensive place once in a while, but not too often. So then we get into the creative overview. So this is a product that's a restaurant discovery program that answers the daily question, what do I want to eat? You can find out where you've eaten and what you loved. The smart card, again, remember the graphic design people. Thanks, Gemini. The graphic people, they're going to probably make the smart dining card. If anybody wants to get really fancy and you decide to do Let's Eat, yeah, I have a card reader. We could mock that up. I mean, we've done card reader stuff before. So that's a possibility. But, for now, we can just say, well, type in your ID, log in, and we're going to pretend that was you swiping the card. The target audience, 25 to 45, people who do a lot of DoorDash, eat out a lot. Yeah, scroll delivery apps, 20 minutes, can't decide, go to the same 3 places. Yeah, Yelp reviews don't really help. Exactly 5-star from bots, 1 star because they forgot your picante sauce, So there's some options here, right? So we have our founder story, brand positioning. They struggle with decision paralysis. It's going to track this stuff. A lot of this is repetitive because it's kind of saying the same information in different ways. Track spending, discover patterns, expand your dining territory. Yeah, we got to handle the data thing. We're going to talk about that. So we make a good point of all your data is owned by you. Okay, cool. So this is some stuff here. So now, here what we're saying is yeah, you're probably not going to actually have connections to all the pay services. Some of this stuff is going to be we'll simulate it. Okay, now this is done, and then now the part of the system that would send this on to Uber Eats would do it. And we're not going to write the system to interface with Uber Eats. We could get paid real money for doing that. So we'll write a program, say maybe it writes out your order to a CSV or to a JSON file or something, and then something else happens. Now I want to go back and say, well, if we're doing Let's Eat, let's look at the technical presentation. Again, what we're getting into here is, well, the main track here is restaurants. And it's tracking the restaurants you've been to, the restaurants you want to go to, the types of ratings you give. You might just want to do a thumbs up, thumbs down, would you go back or not? Or if you have time, you could put in more information. So, again, I've done this where I remind myself, oh yeah, that's the one place where they never, the fries are always cold. So maybe I'll just go down the road a bit. And it gets into various suggestions that the program might do, where information might come out. A lot of stuff, right? Again, where are we starting? We're starting with being able to log in. So don't get too panicky. This is totally fine. And if you didn't want to do that, you could do books, things like that. Okay, that's the first two groups. So next is biometrics. Let me just check in to see if we have any. Yeah, no, my power's not gone out yet. So that's a relief. I was definitely worried about that. Okay, I don't have the synchronized ones for biometrics, so we'll have to work on that. Let me show you the mood sync one. I kind of like that. This was the idea that you'd have this mood ring that analyzes your mood analytically. It's kind of fun, but maybe a little bit crazy, right? Whereas one of these other ones, and we'll do the alignments for you. Let me pick the, I think Vital Watch was pretty good. So this would just be like one of the smartwatch programs. It's tracking information. Maybe it's reading blood pressure, pulse ox, heart rate, things like that. We'll get into that in more detail. Some of the others, again, might be, well, what if you wanted to track your pet health? So again, I don't have the full aligned technical rundowns for these. I'm going to get those for you guys. And I'd actually like you to kind of, if people in group 2, look these over, see if one of these grabs you, and let's build it out first before we do the others. So now the fourth one is the task manager. All right, what's a good one to start? I want to start with the, study stream I think is good. I'm doing the college student ones. I thought that would make sense. So this has this like display board they can use that integrates. We're not going to worry about that yet, but the idea is it's a task manager. So you could just use whatever task manager, but it's sorted for managing your classes. You've got stuff in Canvas, stuff in email, Google Docs, all these different links. And so what it would actually do is, let's say, your teacher tells you have a presentation due in 4 weeks. Instead of, oh no, I'll just put a giant block to do it in 4 weeks and I'll do it the night before, it would break it into smaller pieces. So say every week you could check off some of the work and then schedule some of these times. Because again, if you're working with groups, you might want to be able to say, well, Bob and Susie can't make it unless it's Wednesday. So can we do a Wednesday meeting? Things like that. So a task management system, it would track things like your deadlines. Where's the information? Like where was the assignment instructions? I know I have trouble about giving good, clean stuff like that. Like it's a link, it's in Canvas somewhere. Get you away from just a bunch of like memos on your phone and sticky notes and be able to see all your information on there. So here it's saying, Maya had this, like the problem wasn't the work, it was trying to manage all 5 classes. And so what it does here is executive function support. The idea is just writing down a list of things works great if your brain already handles these types of things, right? So I won't use the ADHD label here, but I will say, for people with executive function, various executive function issues, maybe like, you have a task to do, starting it is the problem. Or, which one do I do first? And so for study stream, breaking it down into a stream of things to do every week instead of, oh my God, I have a paper due in a month. What do? I'm going to not think about it for 3 weeks. Break it out, right? So see, this right here says the program could write research paper into, here's these things, do them, every couple of days. You need to do something, probably take you about a half hour, an hour. Maybe some of these are longer, but the idea is you get yourself in a habit of doing these things. As it says, next week and 3 weeks feels the same until it's tomorrow. So having deadlines set up with the blocking would be really useful. It's got this brand voice of peer-to-peer, like, hey, I'm here to help you. We're not doing toxic productivity. I kind of call this like bro influencer, or like, I guess there's other influencers that do it too, but like, let's crush our goals. And it's like, yeah, look, if I'm trying to get organized, just crush it is not helpful information. But saying things of, well, hey, this was under 5 discussion posts. Let's fix this, or let's organize this. might be useful. And it gives some ideas of how it should work. So then if I want to look at how that would go, I don't want to tell you guys do these. Like I want you to look over all of them, but I just thought picking the ones that were closest to college students were the easiest to talk about. Now we're getting into how you would handle this technically, which is, okay, you got workspaces, projects, tasks, subtasks. So they took the idea of how you would map these things in. So you'd say like, hey, this semester I have this class, this assignment, this step in that. And so this is kind of like Scrum, like the idea that I say I want you to write an enterprise software application in 16 weeks, you go, what? But if I say, okay, week 1 and 2, I need you to make a list of issues in your GitHub that show to do these tasks. And then over those next 4 weeks, we do those tasks. And when we're done, we check off the issue as being done. It's kind of like that, but hopefully a little bit more organized than I am. It gives some examples of things you might do in the program, just some options there. And again, for group 4, we may very well pick one of these and talk about it. All right, now I know I've probably already going over time. Yeah, Canvas or Canva. Okay, let me show you on mine how this looks. So when I go to 289 and I click people, this is going to give you everybody. And then if you click groups, so you should be able to see everybody in your group. I'm going to pop them up real quick so you can just confirm that works, right? Canvas? Yeah, there we go. That's good. I have a spreadsheet with everybody's information on here, and we're setting that up. And then, yeah, sure. Okay, so let me show you that again. So that was in Canvas. That's the group. So what I'm going to do is make posts for each group that have the link. I got to figure out how to do that in Canvas. For now, groups shows you who's who. And then down here, the first thing under orange clearance is right here, where it's going to tell you the group. Here's the link. Each of these point to the briefs on GitHub and your other group members. So you can just double check your last 4 there. Again, I did that because that way Claude doesn't have your, name, address, and phone number, because that would be illegal. I'm not supposed to give out your information to the cloud. But last 4 I think is fine, right? So that's why I do it like that. Now these are your official, these are the numbers on your badges. So I figured that would work. That's going to be that link here. These should all work. And we'll confirm that. And then again, I'm going to need to put the group 4 stuff. So what are we actually doing? I'm going to pop back here so I can just kind of look at chat for a second. You don't have let me see if I can reset the people tab. That's a fun one. Let me see if I go to navigation, show you how the sausage is made. So I have people down here. I think I'm going to take collaborations is fine. We'll put people right there, right under class collaborate. And let me save. And now you should be able to see it right here. Okay, if anybody can't see that link, let me know and we will figure it out. Again, I'll go back to the groups to kind of see here. Okay. Good. So hopefully that's making sense, some folks. All right. So the other thing I was going to do was talk about the new Discord. But I think since it's quarter till, like I've only got a couple minutes until we finish up. I'm going to let you guys go in a minute, and then I'll talk to Matea about getting, yeah, it's a good idea. You may want to reload it because I did refresh the Canvas settings. We're going to get the invite out for Discord. And then what I'm going to do in my master spreadsheet, I've got all the groups with your actual names instead of the last 4. So I'll show you guys that when we're not online. I'm not throwing it on YouTube, right? I don't want your email address showing up on a live stream. Not like anybody's watching it, but we'll be careful. Other than us, just in case, right? You don't leak personal info no matter what. So when the Discord's up, what we're going to do is I'll get the Discord IDs and put those on the spreadsheet. And then from that, we'll be able to put everybody into their proper group in Discord. And I told the graphic design people they are welcome to join. Okay, so you've got a thing. So we'll look at that on Wednesday. Check on Wednesday. Thanks. Might need to talk to the Canvas All right. Okay, cool. Yeah. So if it's not showing up for you, we'll figure it out for sure. But what I'm going to try to do by the end of the day is get your, we'll get the Discord invite out, get people filing in there, and then hopefully we can organize you guys. I'll update my spreadsheet. So when you go into Discord, you'll have a general chat. You have a voice chat. You can go in if you just want to talk to people. You want to have a quick meeting, and then we'll have a chat for each department. Okay, great, good. Thanks. It's almost ready. Thank you, Specs Creative. Fantastic. Good. Yeah. So we're going to get you into the Discord. That'll work well. And I think that's when you're talking to them. When we met, so Ms. Fisher and I met was that Thursday, and we talked to the groups, and they've come up with what they're doing right now. Like, so they've picked one of the white labels in their group. So everybody in your group, if you're doing financial, everybody in your group is doing one of the financials. Which means if you talk to them, you're going to find out which of those you're going to have like the most developed graphic design assets for, which would definitely make things useful. Okay, yeah. So if you guys can't see the page for groups, we will figure that out. There's definitely something going on with that is a Canvas thing. I got my infinite hall of mirrors here. Sorry about that. So hopefully that's making sense. So if anybody has any other questions, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. And then Showdown, I think I'll talk to you after the stream. Maybe we'll hop on Collaborate or something if you have time, and we'll figure out the Discord stuff. Cool, fantastic. I think my modded Wii is in the basement someplace. I should break it out. Okay, okay, go to the orange page with group resources and follow. Yeah, it's true. Talk to your group about which of them sound most interesting. Remember that. Oh, hey, awesome. Good. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. Yeah, as you see, my live stream is pretty messy right now, but I had a whole bunch of stuff I was showing. I'm going to see how the recording goes. You can relax. This is, oh yeah, it's actually showing when I typed in. Getting started. There we go. Cool. That's my messages. Okay, cool. Great. Awesome. So yeah, so students, if that's enough for you, you're good. Yeah, Showdown, I'll talk to you in a minute. I have a feeling my 1 o'clock class is probably not going to happen because it's 5 high schoolers and I only gave them today's notice. I think I'll just do a video for them. So if people have questions, I'll be on email, things like that. Let me put up my splash screen since some people who showed up didn't see it. There we go. Awesome. Good. I'm going to leave that for a bit so I get my, at least I can test it out. My live stream preparation involved, hey, Gemini, I need a picture real quick. And then the rest was just in OBS. So let's see if this worked. All right. If there's no more questions, like I said, we're going to meet on Wednesday. And as always, thank you for your cooperation. Yeah. So we'll do Discord. The idea being so what usually happens around like week 3 or 4 is your groups are like, hey, let's find a time we could all hop on Discord, grab a voice channel, and just have a quick meeting, right? And that's what we're going to work on this week. So we'll get all that coordinated. And again, I thank y'all for waiting. No problem. Yeah. So. Yeah, next steps are going to be, so Jen, what I did, I'll just tell you for people who are maybe leaving now. So I went through and showed, well, let me show you the page real quick. I'll turn my thing back on for a second. Okay. This was the very simple page that did not work out great. Well, hold on. Yeah, here's the one that I got to load in Canvas, which is just for each group. They know who they are. They have the link to the brief so they can start looking them over. And then I had kind of a pretty page that did not want to load. Oh, did I close it? I guess I did. That's fine. It doesn't matter. I had a more attractive version of the page that loaded that kind of just had the same information. And then the other thing is that since we have 5 groups instead of yeah, I can do that on for me. Yeah, I would love to do that. Maybe we can. Do you wanna bring him over? Maybe we'll talk. I'll talk about it. I'll talk to you offline. But yeah, maybe let's have a meeting. Get him in a room. Just talk. Get you next to a whiteboard so you can sketch stuff, things like that. I think that will probably be the best way for them to get a feel for what's actually involved. Because we threw them the engines the first day, and I know that was a lot. And then in class, since then, I've just been getting them up to speed on, let's go over GitHub activities again to make sure we have that down. All right, fantastic. Really good turnout. I appreciate you guys coming by. I don't have my little avatar where it animates yet, but I guess I'm a PNG tuber. But Ms. Fisher had done a much nicer. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure why the canvas is different. But yeah, when we look at it in person, I'm sure we can get it fixed. Maybe I need to talk to the canvas person. But the idea is, we've still got until May, right? We're looking to finish this by like May 10th, something like that. Do the final presentation the last week of class. The whole portfolio thing last week of class. So maybe we do our presentation on week 15. So we've got a long time left, and we're going to have assistants. We're going to work through the tools. Yeah. Okay, great. Good points. I will want to do a short session for the online people soon. Okay, let me talk about that. So the short version for the online is we've got to get you guys a project to work with. I've got 2 options. So I want to find out the one that is going to be the best fit for you guys. One is the auto grader. It's a Python auto grader. It's a project that's already been started and we need somebody to work on it. So we may look at that. You may have a couple of volunteers who want to help, anybody who's got extra free time. But for group 4, the other option is we may just pick one of the white labels from any of the other products and have you guys develop that. And the reason is because for the online group, it's just not as easy for you to meet with graphic design. So I didn't want to put that extra, like basically you're going to meet with me. And then I'll coordinate that stuff for you. So the project may be a little less complex, but it's going to do all the same things, check the same boxes, be as good a portfolio project for the online group as it will for the others. What I can tell you is you're going to be building the login page for a web application. You're probably going to use Flask or Streamlit. I actually want to talk to some of the groups about maybe using Django. Now that I've got more documentation on Django, I can kind of see, like we always avoided Django because you had to do a lot of prep ahead of time before you started. But nowadays I'm of the attitude, hey, we probably should prep before we start. But anyway, you're going to use a common Python web library like Flask or Streamlit or Django to make a web application. And the web application, yeah, actually that would be great. Let's do one of the algocratic ones. That'll probably work. So sure, we'll coordinate on that. That's good, great. So that'll be good. So we'll probably give you guys one of the. They're not exactly spoof, but they're a little bit kind of out there. I like that idea. So yeah, we will have a project for you guys in the online group. I would say by the end of the week, so you don't have to be so confused. But for now, I know we're working through issues and pull requests, and I know I need to talk to some of you guys separately about issues with that. The last thing I wanted to say is if you couldn't get your PR to work, just make a file called like module1 pull request.md and put what you would have put there and submit that file. And then we'll figure out how to get the pull request working after that. Okay, awesome. Thank you, folks. I appreciate it. I'm going to mute and just kind of be in chat for a second before I turn off the stream. Let's go outside for a minute. I'm sorry. You were so helpful. How come you're so helpful? Can I get a little smooch? Can I get a little smooch? Just a little smooch. Let's go outside for a minute. Let's see if it's warmed up. You want to see if it's warmed up? Maybe it's gotten warmer. Who knows? It might be nice. All right, let me go check. You don't have to if you don't want to. Are you comfy? Are you cool? Okay. You don't have to. I'll be right back. I'm just going to go pee. I'm going to go pee outside. You want to go pee? You all got to pee? Got to pee? All right, let me try this.